Welcome to Intro to the Track Part 2.
Summit Point, 8-yard Bomber Motorsports Park. Cars are rolling off. 787 rolling out.
In this episode, we're going to talk about something called an Autocross, or Auto X. An Autocross is an event where a club like BMW Club, Porsche Club, Audi Club, our friends at NASA, etc., will rent a hopefully rather large parking lot that's mostly devoid of obstacles like light posts and curbing and stuff like that. They will set up a course in this lot with cones. If you look at it from like a bird's eye view, you'll see the cones will describe some kind of pattern. Your objective is to get through this course as fast as you possibly can without knocking any cones down. High level, that's an autocross. I mean, that's really it. If you have an autocross course that's more than a minute, it's considered a very large course. So you're manipulating the car as quickly as you can, you're feeling the weight change of the car, you're really making the car what I call dance around this track. Let's talk a little more details. The morning of the event, you show up, you'll go to registration, register your name, your car, you'll pay them. Generally, the cost of an autocross, anywhere between $50 and $100 for the day, depending on the organization, if you're a member, if you're a non-member, that sort of thing. But it's generally a low-cost event. Once you pay it, then you're going to have to class your car. Now, I'm not going to go over every group's type of classing because they can be very different. I'm just going to talk about BMW Club. Looking at their website, they currently have 6 BMW classes ranging from Class E, which is the lowest class, up to Class AA. Then they have what's called X, non-BMWs. So the next logical question is, how do they class the different cars? It's based upon points. Like for example, the lowest class is 0 to 39 points. The highest class is 80 plus points. So what does that mean? Every car in its stock configuration is given a base number of points. Then as you make modifications to the car, you either gain points for performance enhancements or you lose points for performance detriments. Why you'd want to do that, I have no idea. But someone might. Or maybe someone's bringing a car, instead of getting a good set of either street tires or RComp race tires, all they have for their car is all seasons. Well, guess what? You get a points benefit for having all seasons. You'll lose points from the base of your car. So looking at BMW's website, let's just talk about some of these performance enhancements that I talk about. In this case, tires. If you're using the stock tires that the car came with from the factory, there is no points gained, no points lost. If you're putting more of a performance tire, like let's say a non-DOT, Department of Transportation legal tire, on this chart you'll get 22 points to your base number. If you're using grooved RComps, that means that they are DOT race tires, so they're legal to drive on public roads, like a BF Goodrich or a Hoosier race tire. They both have circumferential grooves in them, which makes them street legal. So if you have those, then you get 10 points added to your base. And as I mentioned before, in this case, if you have all seasons, you can take away 10 points from your base, which will put you in a lower class potentially. The next thing to talk about is transmission. The stock manual transmission is 0 points. Again, it's built into your base. If you change the transmission to a Steptronic or something else, you lose points in this case. And if you got automatic, you still lose more points. Again, it's a detriment to performance. The next section here is dampers, shocks, or suspension. If you have the stock suspension on the car, it's 0 points. If you have the M Performance dampers or sport dampers or coilovers that are single adjustable, double adjustable, or triple adjustable, you can get up to 5 points just for your dampers. We're not done yet with suspension. Springs are next. Again, base springs, 0. You kind of get the trend, I guess, on this. If you have BMW M suspension springs, you get some points. Different types of springs, you relocate the springs, custom control arms, custom suspension, you get a whole 20 points for that. The next thing, of course, is if you have a lightweight flywheel, again, better acceleration, you get some points for that. Weight reduction. If you've taken weight out of your car, and how much weight. In this case, if you took out from 0 to 50 pounds, it's 1 point. If you've reduced 500 pounds from this car, you get 11 points. Do you have more negative camber on the car? Plus points. Do you have sway bars on the car? Aftermarket anti-sway bars? More points. Do you have bigger wheels and tires in the car? More points. As you can see, all of these values either will make your class higher or lower, which means you're competing against more powerful cars, more even cars. The point of this class structure is to make an even playing field. So if you spend a lot of money souping up your car, you can't just show up and kick everyone's butt. You're competing with other guys who have supposedly a similar level of modification to your car. Hope that makes sense. The next thing we're gonna chat about, rules. As I might have mentioned in episode 1, your objective is to go through as fast as you can without knocking cones down. If you knock cones down, you get a penalty of time. Remember, so let's just say driver A did the course in 57 seconds. Pretty good. Driver B did the course in 55 seconds, but he knocked 1 cone down. There could be a 2-second penalty for each cone. Guess what? They both have the same final time, because once it's adjusted, driver A got a clean 57, driver B got a 55, but he knocked down a cone, so it's plus 2 seconds. Guess what? They're both 57 seconds. How long does it last? Well, generally the event lasts from, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 p.m. at night. You show up in the morning, registration is usually 35 to an hour.
Everybody signed the waiver, everybody has a wristband.
It can be up to an hour because you might have a long line of people wanting to register. Once you get to registration, the next thing that happens is whoever the designer of the course is going to work with a couple of people and drop cones on the course and kind of smooth out the way the course looks. Then the entire group of people will have the opportunity to walk the course. Very important piece, never skip this. What I want you to do is when you walk the course, I want you to imagine driving the car. And when I was autocrossed, I always put my body where I wanted to place the car. Like if you've got a right turn coming up, you don't want to be on the right side of the previous corner, because that makes the turn potentially much more sharp. You're going to slide more. I want to place the car on the left to get a slightly smoother arc through that corner to be able to carry more speed. Walk the course. I cannot stress this enough. Walk the course as many times as they will allow you to do. You have a very short period, maybe it's like 15 minutes, to imprint that course in your brain. That will have a huge impact on your results for the day. Because trust me, you don't want to go out in the course blind and try to figure out where you are in a sea of cones, because that's what it looks like when you're in the car. If you don't have an imprint in your head, literally your brain will be like, oh, wait a minute, there's cones everywhere. And especially if they have pointer cones and other things, your brain's gonna freak. And I've seen people do that, okay? And literally plow through a bunch of cones in the course. Think about how you're going to attack each corner. The other key, you wanna think 2 and 3 corners ahead. Never just think about the cone gates as they're called, in front of you and then react to the next one. You won't set the car up properly. What I want you to do is I want you to think about, okay, here, the next one's a right, the next one's a left, and it's a sharp right. How are you gonna position the car through those 3? And then with your eyes, I want you to look 2 or 3 gates ahead of where you physically are, okay? Only and best way to navigate an autocross course is you gotta think ahead. I'm saying it a bunch of times, I'm stressing it, I want you to think about this. Generally, for most organizations, depending on how people show up, you'll get anywhere from 5 runs to maybe 8 runs per day. Now let's think about that. You're investing 8 to 10 hours of your day, and literally you're gonna get probably anywhere between 5 to 8 minutes of track time. One of the things which I think is a detriment to autocross, okay, is your seat time is very limited, so you want to make the most use of it. Once the course is walked, then they're going to say, okay, time, and then they'll start lining cars up. The other thing I forgot to mention is the way they time the event is timing lights. If you walk over the start-finish line, there's going to be a little box-type device and another box-type device. there's a light beam that crosses between those, and that goes to a computer. As soon as you cross that, starts a timer. At the end of the course, you're going to have another set of lights, timing lights, which will shut off the timer. So they'll line people up, but before they do that, one of the things you do on autocross to help, because it's not a very expensive event, is you're going to be shagging cones. When you are not driving or lined up, they usually split the group, it's 50 people, into 25 and 25. So for the morning, the first 25 people will be driving. The second group of 25 will be out in the field.
So I just checked in for my worker assignment because I'm going to work first. They handed me a vest and also a radio.
You want to place yourself in a space, very important for your safety, that you have something around you or something you can jump behind if a guy loses control of his car. I have seen people getting smacked by a car. It's not pleasant. It doesn't happen often, but once in a while, you never know. Anyway, so the guy in charge will send people to different strategic locations around the course. Your job is going to be, once a car has passed, because there'll only be one car at a time generally, when that car passes by, if they've knocked a cone down, one guy will call it in on the radio, the other guy will run, pick the cone up and place it back in the little box. Generally, with chalk, they put a box around the base of the cone so they know it's been moved. You will be doing that all morning if you're working, the field. Some people may be working the tables, some people may be doing other things, but you will be working. So that first group of 25 will do their 4 to 8 runs, whatever it is. Usually we'll break for lunch, again, depending on the organization, they'll break for lunch, we'll have a break, and then they'll swap. So the guys who are in the field picking up cones and such will now go in their cars and line up to run the course, and the guys who will run the course will now be in the field. Their job is to pick up cones and such. Your 8 or 10 hours is not going to be sitting around waiting to drive. It's going to be either running after cones or driving. Let's talk about costs. One of the real positives about autocrossing is the low level of cost. Obviously you need a car. Some kind of performance car would be nice, but I've seen people use some non-performance cars in terms of the car setup. I recommend to most people when they first start autocrossing or doing any kind of track type event, start with a stock car. Make sure all the fluids are done, the suspension is in good shape, make sure that you have decent tires, decent brakes. Same thing for an autocross. As a beginner, you're going to want to make sure the car is solid. In terms of your growth and development, as you get better with autocrossing, you're going to want more performance out of your car. In terms of suspension, tires, horsepower, you're going to want your car to be faster and faster. And that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, the one that I prefer in the beginning especially, is driver development. The driver mod, as we call it. The objective there is for you to get better. The other cool thing is most organizations, not all, will have instructors available. So if you want someone to sit with you, a crazy person, they will sit in your right seat while you're navigating the course, and they will give you input on what you're doing, and they'll teach you.
Brake. Wait for the gas, go.
That's another way of getting faster. Seat time. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. Autocrossing is no stranger to that. Your first autocross will probably be slow. You won't be competitive. As you do it more and more, you will get more competitive. You will start getting better at driving and feeling the car and kind of pushing the car to the edge. Driver mod, number 1. Number 2, car mods, tire, suspension, that sort of thing. Yeah, that was my phone. Equipment, let's talk about equipment for a minute. Again, initially especially, your equipment investment is going to be very low in autocrossing. What I recommend most beginners is, A, you're going to want a helmet. Most organizations will lend you a helmet if you don't have one initially, but you want to get your own helmet. If you're borrowing a helmet, do me a favor, go buy a balaclava, one of those head socks. You don't want to put your head in someone else's helmet that you don't know. Ick for me, but some people may want to do it. The other thing you want to do is you want to get a torque wrench. In the morning, and when the car cools down, you want to torque your wheels to make sure the wheels are on tight, because you're putting a lot of very brisk lateral forces on your car. If your wheels are loose, they will come off. Tire pressures. You're going to want to get one of those electric tire pressure pumps, the ones that plug in the cigarette lighter, because your factory air pressures are designed to give a little bit of cushion with your tires. But you don't want that. When you want the car to move laterally, to move in a certain direction, the first thing that happens at a micro level is the tire squishes. Once it squishes to a certain point, then it changes direction. You can influence the squish, pump up your tire pressures. For street tires are running, let's say 32, 34 PSI, front and rear. My recommendation would be you pump them up to, let's say, 40. So get them to 40 PSI for the Autocross. You will see a dramatic difference in the responses of your car. Your car's gonna feel amazing. Now, take that 40 with a grain of salt. Different tires, different cars, like a different variation of that. Some cars may like 36, 38 hot. Some cars may like 40, 41 hot. You gotta find the flavor for you. But a good place to start maybe is 38 all around. Drive the car, see how the car feels. Once the car feels like it's sliding or it's moving around too much, then my opinion would be you've overinflated the tires, right? They're now like smooth and they're not squishing at all. You want a little bit of squish, but not much. In terms of equipment, lunch. Something else that's important. Generally, as I said, these are held in a parking lot, and you don't have a lot of time for lunch. You're gonna eat while you're shagging cones. You're gonna eat if they break for lunch for maybe a half hour. Generally, don't have enough time to go to a restaurant, have a sit down. Bring some food, bring a cooler, bring drinks. You know, it's usually pretty hot. It's a sunny, hot day. You're gonna melt. Bring water, drinks with some electrolyte. You want to be able to hydrate all day long. Super, super important. Bring some snacks, bring a sandwich, something to eat. I'm not a big fan of cold sandwiches, as my family will tell you, but bring something that will keep you sustained for the day, because you will be there till 5 or 6 p.m. If you didn't bring anything to eat, you're gonna be starving at the end with a bad headache. Let's talk about car setup for a second. One of the things that you're gonna notice very quickly about your car, is it a understeery car or is it an oversteery car? Understeer. You're going straight and you're going to a corner. Let's call it a right turn. So you wanna turn right and go right. As you approach the corner, slow down a little bit, you turn the wheel right. What does the car do? It continues to go straight. So what do? You turn it more. What does the car do? Continues to go straight. That's called understeer. Oversteer is you're coming to the same right corner, so you're coming in hot, you brake, and as you brake, the back of the car wants to come around. It wants to come forward and swap sides with the front of the car. That's called oversteer. As a driver, you can deal with oversteer and drive through oversteer. You can't drive through understeer. The only thing you can do with understeer is lift off the throttle, slow down a little bit, straighten the wheel for a split second, and then get back into it. You're gonna find out what your car leans toward, understeering or oversteering. If it's understeering, there are things you can do in terms of anti-sway bar settings, tires, suspension, to reduce understeer in a vehicle. That's one that you're gonna have to chase or speak to a shop that knows your chassis that can help you work with this. Oversteer, if it's really horrible, yeah, you're gonna wanna reduce it. But you can deal with oversteer as you become a better driver, all right? The best thing is what the car balanced. When, you know, you want to be able to go into a corner hot, slow the car down to whatever appropriate speed, and navigate the corner, whether it's right or left or what have you, and not have the car shifting in either direction where you don't want it to go. Okay, that's balance. And again, that comes from the magic of suspension tuning. All right, I've been talking for a while, and I'm hoping some of what I shared has given you some insight into what an autocross is. Personally, I autocrossed for years. It was really great fun. One of the great things about autocrossing is it allows you to dip your toe into motorsports without a big commitment. Equipment commitment is very low. The time commitment is very low. You tell your wife and kids, hey guys, Dad's gonna go, it's usually on a Sunday, Dad's gonna go for the day, I'll be back in the evening. So, you know, you're not gone for a weekend. And quite frankly, autocrossing will teach you car dynamics, how to read and how to feel what a car's doing at a very quick pace. It will make you a better driver. Like I said, I did it for years and I enjoyed it for a long time. And I'm hoping again that some of the points we shared with you will help you on your journey to autocrossing. Next time, we're gonna talk about something very near and dear to my heart, track events. Autocrossing is held in a parking lot locally. They're all over the state, all over the country. Track events are held at racetracks, something that I just love. Next time, we're gonna delve into the world of track events. If you haven't, subscribe, like, watch, share it with your friends. The purpose of this series is just to help people. Reach out to BMW Club, Audi Club, Porsche Club, our friends at NASA. You know, there's a lot of great people in motorsports who would be delighted to take you under their wing and help you get into all of these forms of motorsports. The greatest people I've met are car people. Enjoy the drive.